All right, what's up everybody? So today we're going to talk about running direct, and I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of what I'm using in order to run direct, and we'll talk about advantages, disadvantages maybe. So what I've been using to run direct for the past 2 years is this little amp here. So this one specifically is the VOX MV50 AC, and this is the Clean model, which is based around like a Fender blackface type of voicing. I also have the AC model, which is voiced around like an AC30 type of circuit. Currently, I'm running only the Clean, but I have run them together in the past in like a stereo or a dual mono type of setup, and the two amps really complement each other very, very well. So this is what I'm using at the moment. I intentionally chose to put it on a pedal train nano board rather than on my pedal board itself, and I'll tell you why. So some places where I'll end up going to play, you know, maybe they already have guitar stuff set up, maybe backstage in an ISO cab or something like that. And so I chose to have this mounted on its own board, ultimately just for flexibility. You know, I don't always want to walk into an environment and have to have patching changed specifically for me. So in having it set up this way, I'm able to cater more to that stage or that venue setup a little bit better. So sometimes I'll end up with this on stage with me, whereas other times this might be in a different part of the stage, or maybe even off stage completely, maybe backstage somewhere where they've got their guitar setup rolling. So another part of choosing to mount this on a separate board is, of all the things I love about this little amp, the one thing I don't like is the power supply. It's more of a laptop style power supply rather than a standard IEC cable that you would use maybe for your pedal board or for an amp. And so it's kind of that style where you've got one end that plugs in with like a brick in the center, and then another cable coming off of it. And while I was running this, not with a board, it just truthfully was kind of annoying. And so this was kind of my solution to make that a little more bearable. I realize some people may not care, and that is totally cool. Just drove me a little bit crazy. So coming off the amp, I have it split into two DIs. This amp does not actually run like a true stereo. So really what this is creating is a dual mono setup. And the whole reason I did that, again, is for flexibility. Some places already have patching set up, be it on stage or in an ISO cab, for two lines. So I'm able to meet their expectation by sending them two signals. Now it might be the same signal twice, but I like having that. I like to pan my guitar wide left and right, and so this keeps the engineer from having to go through and like change their patching and create a double patch of the same signal. The cable that I'm using in order to do that, I ended up having made. I went to a couple of music stores and I wasn't really impressed with the options that they had, or it would end up having to require a bunch of adapters, and I felt like ultimately it would really degrade the signal quality coming off of the amp. So it is a single male TRS cable that splits into a dual male TS cable. So it's, again, that's not at all necessary to run this. You could absolutely just use a normal 1/4 inch cable straight into a single DI, and you'd still get incredible results. One of the things that I really love about this setup is I've not had particularly great experiences with modeling in the past, especially if I'm running a full pedal board. I think modeling can work very, very well if you're just plugging a guitar straight in. But when you start working with different effects, particularly in my experience, overdrives, if you start really pushing modeling, like if you're hitting it with a good bit of a volume boost and some gain, that's where things can start to kind of go downhill really quickly. And what I like about this setup is this is not modeling. This in itself is an amp. It's got their new tube setup, which is running the preamp circuit. And so you get that nice feel and response comparable to a tubed preamp. And this thing will also run a cab if you choose to do it that way. I've done that here at home plenty of times, and I've experimented with, like when I've been tracking here at the house, tracking the direct signal straight out as well as a mic'd cab. And I think it sounds really surprisingly awesome, especially given the price point of an amp like this. These new, I believe, are right around $200. And I think that they are pretty unbeatable for what they are. But yeah, it handles a pedal board in front of it very well. I think that it sounds a lot like an amp being pushed because it is an amp being pushed. And I haven't noticed any weird signal artifacts or anything like that that you can maybe get with modeling if you start to push it. So I've used a couple of other options in the past with varying results, and I feel like this is the most consistent and the closest sound that I would get maybe with one of these amps here behind me. I've got my Dr. Z here, and at the end of the day, yeah, the Dr. Z sounds better, and it should. It's an incredible amp, it's handmade, and they are awesome, awesome, awesome amps. But I do think in the context of a full mix, some of that quality can get lost. I can tell a difference between playing something like this versus something like that, or any of these other amps behind me, but no one else is going to hear my guitar as well as I will within my mix, whether I'm using ears or a wedge. And so I do think that there is a bit of you start dealing with diminishing returns. This is lighter, it's convenient, it sits right in my case with my pedal board. I haven't had to do any type of maintenance, like replacing tubes or anything like that. I get the same results everywhere I go. I plug in and it sounds exactly the same. And I think that convenience and that consistency is really very, very helpful. I love my tube amps, but this has been really, really great. I know sound guys have really loved it. Anyone that I've worked with has really expressed how impressed they are with this setup particularly. Just the tonal quality that I'm able to get out of it, the fact that it's a direct option, so it's silent, you're not fighting any stage volume or anything like that. So I would say, dollar for dollar, this thing really punches way above its weight class. And I would recommend giving it a shot if you have the option. They are inexpensive, so they're really easy to get into. And they sound great running direct, they sound great pushing a cab. So there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of different options you have with these amps specifically. And again, it's the VOX MV50 AC. And then there's several different models. I haven't ventured into many of the others. I've got the Clean and the AC. They've got a rock one, they've got more of a boutique one, they call it, and like a high gain type. And I don't think that those are ones I'm going to venture into. I don't know that I have a need for those, but I'm sure they're great as well. So I'm gonna just kind of play around a little bit. I'll just give you some sound samples. I'll probably just start off just clean, guitar straight on in to the amp, and then I'll start adding pedals and just kind of playing around a little bit just so you can get an idea of some of the tones that I can get out of this. thank you guys so much for watching. Just kind of an explanation of running direct and how I'm doing it. I hope that this can maybe open up some options for you, maybe to explore some different ideas and gear in order to start trying to run direct, especially if that's something that you're curious about. If you would subscribe, like the video, click the bell so you can be notified anytime that I post a new video. And as always, I'm Colin Rich, and thank you for watching.